You think you're moving now?
Yeah, you bet.
Going up to the building site. And Polly's helping.
She sure is.
Helping making it heavy. Well, there's way to
Hey, gobble.
tackle everything, isn't there?
No, stay where you are. Stay. Recording.
Okay, so welcome to the construction of the world's very first TerraFirmaDome. Right, the other
On
name
Etherion.
thought of was Earth Capsule in honour of Michael Reynolds, the Earthship designs. And it's a little bit different. I was trying to take out some of the heavy labour, and so the capsule part of it implies a little bit of technology, right? And this is going to form a structure, a supporting structure. As you can see, it's not very supporting at the moment, but we've got strategies to make this really strong. Okay, so let's go to the site that we've selected. Keep rolling. Okay, so this is a co-creation with nature that we're working on. An example of that is in this little site we're excavating. It's a minimal excavation. There's a lot of stones, a lot of rocks coming out, like these, this little pile here. Right?
Is there a zoom?
No, don't worry about the zoom.
Oh, I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay. You can step over the log if you like.
Oh, thank you, George.
Alright, so the point about this is instead of a brick which is one size fits all, the way we're working with nature is all sizes fit the one. Okay? Alright, so that's how we're working with nature. We're not conforming to the regular building standards, and we're just using our intuition to create what we're doing. Now this particular site was choosing this particular site was one of the biggest jobs, and we've actually selected a site where we've got lots of natural protection. We've got this rock face along here, and the one thing that I had problems with is that the only negative on that was there was a big tree hanging over this site. Right? So one of the first things I had to do was to chop the tree down. Now that didn't sit very well with me, but it just had to be done. My intuition told me chop the tree down, and that's where the coincidences started, or the synchronicities if you want to call them that. Where the tree fell is exactly parallel to the rock and forms a boundary, forms a protection on the western side. Okay, so the tree was really leaning over, so it just had to go. The other good thing about this site is it's in a little bit of a dip, so there's very little excavation to be done, and it's not perfectly level. And so what we do is we select the smaller tyres on one side, the 175s, and down the other end we'll have 265s. Right, so we're making use of the natural slope, so that there is a small slope, and that'll help the drainage. Okay, so the other elements that we're working with, obviously the tyres, the steel mesh. There's two of them. Right, we're going to crisscross them over. These are oversized tent pegs, or commonly known as Rio, and cut up into 1 metre lengths. Okay, so the cost is very low. We've also got a tarp over there. Right, that's going to form the waterproof barrier. We've also got underneath the tarp stacks and stacks of carpet, which goes into landfill normally. Right, so we've selected materials that we don't bother with anymore. We just throw them away, but they're very strong, and why not use them? They're under there somewhere. Okay. And we're going to form a crisscross with the steel mesh, one over the other. That's going to make it really strong, right? Once we tie the things up, and the only downside of that is it'll end up with a slightly flat roof instead of a perfect dome. But that's what we're working with. It makes a shelter the size of 10 metres squared. Not too small, not too large, and it, by coincidence, after I started working on it, we discovered the competition for a $300 house, and so far I've spent quite a bit under $300, and we'll just see how it goes for the rest. Now when we finish the structure, the tyres will be on top. The waterproof layer is underneath the tyres, right, and it's protected by the carpets, and we're going to create a living, breathing dome. That's the idea. It's a garden. You can put potatoes in your tyres. Okay. All right, so that's it for now, and then we'll progress with the building, and we'll get back to the filming. Thank you. Hello, Pollyanna. Okay, here we are again. So this one here, which we placed in the pit, is bent over in just an ordinary curve. This one here, with the help of Christine, we bent corners on it so that it fits over the top of the other one. Okay, and here we go. Alright, so after a lot of grunting and moaning, we got one mesh over the other, and to reinforce, because it's a flat roof now, we'll use the timber, a number of timbers right along, to make this really strong. And once it's all tied together, it should be quite strong, right? And we'll put some side bracing as well. Alright, that's it. Thank you. Do you want to go and take it from over there? So we're in the whole picture? Okay, so yeah, once this is all tied together, it's quite strong, and there's a bit more strengthening to do around the whole thing. But yeah, we're working with nature. I make some of the decisions. Nature decides to put a big rock right in the corner, but maybe that's going to be the anchor point. And of course the log will form a barrier, protection barrier as well. Alright, that'll do. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Okay, we've made some progress here. We've got the site leveled, and once we crossed them over and tied them together, it became quite stable. But as I mentioned previously, it's a co-creation with nature, and nature just wanted this rock here. Couldn't shift that one. And we also had a big rock here, and before I knocked it out, the whole thing seemed to be unstable because it was held up at that point. And now that I've knocked it out, it's become very stable. So we can grab this thing and it stays put. And just to give you a demonstration of that, you want to grab that?
Indeed.
Yeah. It's coming out through the door again. And actually this whopping great log, which we've chopped off here, will become a protection on this side, the western side, and this one here there'll be protection on the northern side, so we're protected all the way around. And just to show that there is some strength to this, it hasn't even been braced yet.
Man on the roof.
How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Can
So
support.
I might have to put more of these exposed beams through to give it a really strong base because of the flat roof. Because once we put the tyres over it and fill up the tyres with soil and hay, that's a lot of weight. So it's got to be as strong as possible. Okay, that's about it for now.
Looking good, George.
Sign
Looking
off
good.
if you like.
Push the button.
Right, ready?
And red's on.
Okay, so this is the all-important step of pegging the whole thing down. Pretty easy to do. And that's the oversized tent peg. Thank you. Okay, we've now provided the first protective layer on the structure and feeling pretty strong. Let's come down here. Certainly needs to be prettied up, but the basic structure is there and protect. Okay, so come into the parlour or come out. It's a little bit monstrous. Let's walk around and check it out. Up here on the hill we'll be able to get the waterproof layer on next. Perspective. Okay, we've got our bottom 2 rows of tyres put in. Most of the drainage is done. Just have a scan around here, and pretty soon we'll be able to start filling up the tyres. We've got lots of rocks and soil and straw. Of course the drainage is all important. We've got little holes right along there to drain the water out. And a bit of a shelf on the back, so almost no water will get through the back there. Yeah, the tyres themselves are bolted together in order to create a massive web of flexible and rubber around the structure. And the width of the tyres, about 200 millimeters, is thick enough to create a very insulating barrier once we fill it up with a mixture of straw and soil and rocks. That's the whole idea. And the supporting structure, of course, is the steel on the inside rather than the tyres themselves. So that's what makes this construction much easier than just using tyres and dirt. Okay, the TerraDome is now completely tired and screwed together and ready for the infill material. Now there is the hay card in the background, and we'll be chucking that in as a lightweight biomass material together with soil to make it fire resistant and just allow the biomass to grow. So around the northern and western sides we're going to cover all this and bring it up all nice and high with organic material, rocks, including this rather large log. Okay, same on the western side. And the work's ready to begin. Here we go. Taking it. This is the hay bridge. Lots of seeds in these bundles to get a biomass going. Alright, that'll do. Thank you.
That's the entrance.
Alright, we now have a layer of straw stuffed into the tyres, and that provides a very lightweight fill material and very plentiful, as you can see, in the fields. And there's also a couple with just pine needles, and that's less prickly, so that's an advantage. So that's a very light material, so there's not too much weight on the roof, but of course it's going to saturate once it rains, and the straw will eventually rot down. However, the biomass will then take over. There will be millions of roots, little roots, filling up those spaces. Of course the tyres are useful because it doesn't matter what angle they're on. They're a little reservoir of water as well. So that should keep the thing, the plants that eventually take root, it should keep them going. And of course the next step now is to shift all that dirt around us to the top here and fill up the sides with a combination of soil, straw and rocks. Okay, so it's been pretty useful up to now working alone, because I was able to rely on my intuition on what I was doing rather than an intellectual debate about how to proceed. So on to the next step. Yeah, almost all the dirt now is on top, filled into the tyres, and the seeds are planted. Yeah, it was easier than I thought. Just chuck it on and spread them out. So now we're going to fill up the other tyres. Okay, our final guided tour for now. Going into the tunnel, and a little bit dark. Can't quite see the stove there, or can you? Yes, you can. It'll be connected through the roof there. But reasonably roomy. And very strong. Okay, back out. And we can see the logs that have been pushed right up against the tyres, and the tyres are in the process of getting filled up. Each tyre becomes a garden of manure, dirt and straw. Okay, going around the outside. Let's go over the top as well. Okay, and then down the other side. And it's up to us on how much dirt we want to put up these sides. You go 45 degrees, and then it's got a lot of resistance to wind or impact. Okay, one other bird's eye view.
The entry into the property. I'll take a video of the shed. 2-bay shed with storage. Under the pine trees, the house over there again. Basically the yard, the dam up there, and into the shearing shed, back of the shearing shed.